If you're even 1 minute late today, I'll dock your pay. Jason's voice sliced through my eardrums like a blade. I stared at him, still holding the customer's change, knowing full well that today he'd try to crush me again with his arrogance and threats. From the day I started working at this store, I'd been taking on far more than my job required, getting change, fixing machines, fetching items for others. All that extra work was treated as if it were my duty, while every transfer or promotion request I made was ignored again and again. He depended on me but never gave anything back. He ordered me around but wouldn't let me refuse. Every bit of sarcasm and arrogance from him only made it clearer. He was nothing more than a fool drunk on borrowed power. In the end, when I sent the full evidence and my co-workers' anonymous statements to the regional manager, and used the customer feedback surveys to expose his behavior, he finally felt what it was like to be powerless, terrified, and humiliated in front of everyone. He stood frozen in his office, hands trembling, face pale, unable to utter a single word in his defense. That was the moment he understood: power built on the suffering of others always collapses in the end. A few years ago, when I first joined the store, I was just a regular cashier. A new hire who clocked in on time, did the job by the book. But I was different. I quickly noticed how chaotic the store's system was. Managers and supervisors came and went, and every time a new one arrived, they knew nothing, leaving all the real problems to fall on me. Need change? I'd get it. A customer's machine broke? I'd fix it. Shelves empty? I'd restock them. All of this was extra work beyond my cashier duties. No raise, no promotion. My co-workers were gradually moving up, while I remained stuck behind the register, like an overused machine, efficient, reliable, and invisible. I liked Ashley, the front-end manager at the time. She was kind, and she knew how to acknowledge effort. But after her pregnancy, she came back part-time, and with her absence in management, a gap appeared, one that Jason eagerly filled with his inflated ego. Jason was the classic, spoiled child turned bad boss. He demanded obedience and tolerated no disagreement. Doctor's appointment? Cancel it. Family plans? Rearrange them. If I said no, he'd just stand there, eyes sharp as needles stabbing into my back, waiting for me to give in. I learned not to flinch, but every clash with him cut like a blade. The first time I truly saw how vile he could be was after my leg surgery. I was supposed to rest for a few days, using my paid leave. The day before, Jason called, asking me to work from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I asked 3 times who would handle closing. He never answered. I assumed he'd sorted it out. But that afternoon, he called me again. No one can close. You'll have to come back. I shook my head, calm but firm. No. I just had surgery, and I already have plans tonight. His face darkened. We really need you. You're always so selfish. He tried his usual guilt-tripping, but I was long immune to people like him. I stood my ground. He had no choice but to back off, but from that day on, he began sniping at me in public, accusing me of wasting time, even in front of customers. The second humiliation came when there was an opening at the customer service desk. I knew that system better than most, even better than the new hires. I asked about transferring. Jason said he'd consider it. Weeks later, I watched someone who'd started after me get promoted instead, while I was still ringing up groceries. The third was when I requested a transfer to the seafood department. Debbie, the seafood manager, had already agreed to work around my school schedule. But Jason started making excuses. Someone else had applied. There were procedural issues. I caught him lying, but after weeks of stalling, the position was given to a new hire. I stayed where I was, shackled to the register. That's when I understood. He relied on me but refused to reward me. So, I began planning what I called malicious compliance. I started doing only what my job required, no more, no less. Need authorization? Sorry, I'm not a manager. Need change? I'll ask someone else. Need help at customer service? I'll find the right person. Jason quickly lost control. For the first time, confusion and helplessness crept across his smug face. Customers lined up, and I kept smiling, but I drew clear boundaries around every task. Jason kept trying to provoke me, throwing passive-aggressive comments. I responded with polite calm. Every time he exploded, I gave him nowhere to direct his anger. The workload he used to dump on me came right back to him. 3 months later, I found a better job, with higher pay and better benefits. I handed in my resignation. 10 days notice. Jason tried to push back. No, you have to give 2 weeks notice. I laughed. When you fire someone, you don't give them 2 weeks notice. 2 minutes is enough for you, isn't it? Before leaving, I started my small acts of revenge. Need me to work on my day off? I refused. Need overtime? I refused. Every sarcastic jab he made was met with calm, solid boundaries. He grew tense, his control slipping, realizing at last what happens when you mistreat the person you depend on most. Then came the real retaliation. I got the regional manager's email from a friend, returned to the store pretending to be a customer, and kept in touch with a few trusted coworkers. They provided dates, register numbers, and detailed records of Jason's misconduct. I compiled everything and sent it all, neatly documented, to the regional manager. I didn't stop there. Every store receipt had a customer feedback survey. Each time I bought a snack or drink, I filled it out carefully, describing Jason's behavior toward employees in detail. Every manager, regional supervisor, and company rep eventually saw it. As the reports piled up, Jason began to panic. He couldn't hide anymore. The pressure mounted. His sarcasm returned, his temper flared, but it only exposed his desperation. 3 months after I left, the store reorganized the seafood department and made sure I couldn't return. 6 months later, Jason was gone, disappeared completely. No one knew exactly what happened. But I did. He finally paid for his arrogance and cruelty. Now I stand in my new office, sunlight spilling across the desk, coffee warm in my hands. I think back on those days, every argument, every act of defiance, every quiet victory. That was when I learned to take control of my own life. Jason's fear, his helplessness, his unraveling, those became the truest marks of my triumph.